Hi, welcome to my best friend's living room. My name's Leanne. I'm a marriage and family therapist, and I do research at the intersection of human connection and AI. And I am here with my friend Sean P, and we have a lot of fancy equipment here because I am going to yap to you a little bit longer than usual than I do on my TikToks or my YouTube shorts, because I have a lot to say. And there's a lot to be said, and there is a lot that we need to hear from you, the consumer, the layperson, about AI and how it's going to impact our relationships and human connection. I'm a marriage and family therapist. I'm licensed in California. I started my career using psychodynamic psychotherapy theories to counsel parents and children through 2016. And what I learned from that experience is a lot about child development, brain development, and social development for young people. What I learned from the pandemic is just what isolation and a lot of screen time and not enough time with peers, embodied with other people, friction, conflict, rupture, and repair does to the developing child. So my aim is to create a space here to talk to mostly parents, millennial and Gen Z parents who have kids under 18, and anyone else who's got similar concerns or is just generally interested in how we're going to preserve our humanity, sink our teeth into what makes us uniquely human when AI products are being integrated into basically every aspect of our lives. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what I'm doing here. When I ask myself, like, why are you here? Why are you here with Sean? Why do you have all these pieces of equipment here? Why is there beautiful light shining in your face? Why not? Somebody has to hold a space for us to talk about these really important things. And I'm definitely in my like, why not me era. I also want to just make it clear that this space, this content, my YouTube and my TikTok presence is an invitation to think critically about where we are headed and what we might want to do about it. One thing that is definitely clear is that we do not have any regulation coming from the state or federal level. So we need to regulate ourselves. This is obviously important for all people, and I think it's particularly important for parents. One thing I know about parents as a therapist and as a former nanny and as a friend of many, many parents, you guys don't have a lot of time. You don't have a lot of extra time on your hands to do this kind of research. A lot of parents work a lot and struggle to just like get through every single day. And I want to be a resource for you. I want to be a tool for you. I want to create a community that can feel additive and take some of the work off of your plate, genuinely. The way that I kind of want to serve my community is to hold this space, is to facilitate conversation, is to make resources easily accessible and give really tangible and digestible tips and tools to parents and all people about how we can sink our teeth into our humanity, stay grounded in our human relationships, leverage embodied experiences in physical space, while so many convenience tools and resources that are enabled with AI type products are, weaving their tentacles into everything that we do through every aspect of our lives. One thing I'm really proud of about what I'm creating here and what I look forward to continuing to cultivate is a human-generated only space. So if you're on YouTube and you see my logo or my, like, all of my colors and all the content, I hired a small woman-owned branding agency to create that for me. I'm sitting here with my friend Sean. He is a human person with many tangible products that we are surrounded by right now. And he is going to use his human brain to edit all of this, including all of my ahs and ums out of these videos. When I create my short form TikTok and YouTube short content, creating this, this is the basic Google slide that I've barely put together. I'm not using AI to create scripts. I'm not using AI to create any of the content that I'm sharing with you. And this is a commitment that I feel really strongly about. I think it's definitely the case that music, film, and so many other things, reporting, news articles, if we don't make a stand to stay human-centered and stay embodied and stay leveraging human brains and what human brains can produce, and we just sort of let go and flow down the lazy river, I don't really want to know where we're going to end up. So rebooting Connection, me, Leanne, and everything that is going to come from this brand new baby that is being birthed right now is going to be human generated only. That's something that's really important, something I'm really proud to share. I want to start this first episode of this video series with some quotes that have inspired this whole thing. One is from my girl, Esther Perel. She's a pioneer. She is a genius. She's a goddess, and she is a world-renowned sex and relationship therapist. She was featured last year in 2024 on a podcast that is produced by the Center for Humane Technology. That podcast is called Your Undivided Attention. And I'm going to read you a quote from that interview that has inspired me to sit here today and say all these things to you. Artificial intimacy with a bot isn't actually what concerns me. What concerns me is that the digitally facilitated connections are lowering our expectations and our competence in the intimacy between humans. She talks about going to tech conferences and how disappointed she is every time she shows up at a tech conference and leaves a tech conference when nobody, no panels, no one on a stage, nobody with a microphone uses or references or talks about the implications surrounding relationships. She hears a lot about the environment. She hears about health. She hears about education. She hears about transportation. But she was talking in this interview specifically about how disappointing this is that nobody's talking about relationships, especially when some of these AI products are explicitly marketed as something that is going to cure loneliness. So here's another quote. All of these technologies are profoundly affecting how we relate to each other, how we relate to ourselves, and how we form relationships. You have to be responsible and look at the social consequences and the relational consequences of what we are creating. End quote. So that's Esther Perel. I also want to read you a quote from a woman named Megan Garcia. And if you've been following any of my content on my social media platforms, you will have heard me tell the story more than once about Sul Setzer, who was 14 years old when just last year he took his own life after interacting with a chatbot that he created using character AI. There is an ongoing trial right now between Sul's mom, Megan Garcia, and character AI, which is now owned by Google. She's quoted as saying, "Don't move fast and break things when it comes to my kid." I don't think anything could encompass the issues that we're seeing with mental health, especially the mental health of our youth, and AI, and how quickly AI is developing and how much it is just bursting onto the scene like the Kool-Aid man through the brick wall. I'm reading a book right now called Careless People by Sarah Wynne Williams, who was a global policy manager at Meta and Facebook for a very long time. And she says that in the early years of Facebook, they actually had big posters and graffiti that said, "Move fast and break things," in their offices, in their DC office, obviously in their California offices as well. And it feels pretty reckless to think about that ideology when we're talking about something as powerful as AI that's developing in ways that even these CEOs are admitting that they can't predict, and all the while marketing AI products to kids who are under 18 specifically. Don't move fast and break things when it comes to kids. Is that so much to ask? Apparently, yes. And that's why I'm here, and that's why I want to invite more voices, parents, teachers, counselors, mental health providers, medical providers, just lay people. We need to be talking about how we feel about this and what we want to do about it. Full stop. So, okay, a little bit about me. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm also an older millennial. I will be 39 in 2 months. And I remember my first ever desktop. I remember the first time I ever played Carmen Sandiego. I remember the first time I ever played Spin Doctor, and the first time I ever tried to log into AOL instant messenger. And for those memories to be so vivid, and for me to be only 38 and feel pretty youthful, and to now unironically be talking about robots taking our jobs feels extremely trippy. Like, I can't be the only one. I can't be the only one. So I'm also hoping to create a community of older millennials who are in this unique generational pocket. Because if you're Gen X and you're in your 50s, mid 50s, you're looking at retirement, hopefully soon, if you're lucky. So the extent to which AI is going to disrupt your ability to make money, for example, is lower than it is for millennials. I don't know if I'll get heat for this, but I'm saying it. Your kids are also likely slightly older, and you might not be so worried about the ways in which technology that's coming out today is going to impact them, because I'm imagining that they're probably in their teens or older if you're a Gen Xer. If you're a millennial and you're a millennial parent, you're in this sweet spot where AI is about to fuck up your career prospects. Maybe we have to bleep out I don't know. If you're a millennial and you have a kid, your kid is probably under 18 or somewhere around their teen years. And so millennials and younger are in this place where not only is AI really going to disrupt their lives, but it is certainly going to disrupt and be ever present in their children's lives. So it feels almost like a calling that I am a older millennial therapist who works with parents and children to hold a space, facilitate conversation, facilitate debate. I'm sure people will see these videos and have different opinions, and I invite that. And I want to hear from everybody, especially if you disagree. I obviously have blind spots. We all do. And I think what's really important about being a grown-up is being able to say that you don't know what you don't know. In addition to being a millennial therapist, I'm also someone who has benefited tremendously from my friendships, namely female friendships throughout my life. I don't know where I would be if I didn't have the friends that I have in my life. I've had some moments where my female friends have been very quick to pull me out of some dark spots and dark times. And I feel everybody should know what it feels like to have a friend like that. I worry about young people, especially kids who went through a 3-year pandemic where instead of meeting kids on the playground, they were meeting kids on Discord. I worry about them missing out on that opportunity to build those types of connections. That is something I feel extremely passionate about, is young people having a social support network. One thing I know from being a therapist who I currently see people from age 18 to 75. My youngest client just turned 18 and my oldest client is 74 and a half. The most protective factor for mental illness, trauma, community violence, loss is your social support system. This is something I feel extremely strongly about. So you will hear me reference the importance of your social support system a lot. Maybe I'm old school, and again, if you have a different opinion, I welcome it. I don't believe that any synthetic AI generated support could ever be a match for the types of support you could get from an embodied human peer. And we'll talk a lot more in the coming episodes about just how different forming a relationship with a human peer is from forming a relationship with a chatbot, by design and also as defects of the technology. So in addition to friendships, another thing that pertains to psychology that I feel really strongly about, that has a ton of overlap with AI and what these products are aiming to do and what I think are failing to do, surrounds the issue of self-esteem. So we're going to talk a lot in these videos, in this video series and in future video series, is about self-esteem and how it is cultivated and how leveraging AI products or allowing AI products to be a big part of your child's life can impede your child's ability to develop self-esteem. Okay, so you'll hear me say the word chatbot. You'll hear me sometimes say the term AI. From what I've learned in my research, according to computer scientists and technologists, a chatbot, like what we're talking about, like ChatGPT, replica AI, character AI, what these really are large language models. They are like predictive, they generate text, they are trained on insane amounts of data from the internet. What technologists believe is that this isn't actually what AI is, artificial intelligence. I think there's some debate about this. So I will err on the side of using the term chatbot versus the term AI, um, until there's more consensus in like the scientific community about, do we have AI? Is AI what we get when these products become more intelligent? And the jury's kind of out on if a chatbot qualifies as being an AI product. I think what is clear is that a chatbot generates text, therefore people think it's generative AI. Other people think that AI is more synonymous with what's going to happen when we reach artificial general intelligence, or AGI. Anyway, I'm not a scientist and I'm not a technologist, so I'm not going to talk too much about the nuance here, but I'm going to err on the side of using chatbot versus AI, as some people don't think that we have that chatbots are artificially intelligent. I think the final reason why this feels like an important endeavor is because of the extent to which harm has already been done in the space of AI chatbots and young people. So we've talked about Sul Setzer. He took his own life after using character AI. We'll get into that. And as recently as earlier this year, in April 2025, there was a teenager in California who took his own life after utilizing ChatGPT. And this is extremely concerning. There is a lot of debate about who's responsible when these things happen. Although, if you look into the Adam Rain case, I would struggle to see anyone who wouldn't find OpenAI and ChatGPT at least somewhat responsible for what took place there. We'll talk about that more. This just feels important. It's not hypothetical that kids could be harmed. Kids are being harmed. Kids are dying. Kids have died. Kids have taken their own lives. Adults have taken their own lives. And adults, as recently as this year, as we know about the story in Connecticut, which we'll talk about later, adults and adults' family members have lost their lives after someone has interacted with a chatbot product that was, in my opinion, irresponsibly reckless in encouraging violence, offering guidance and information, and step-by-step instructions of how to carry out that violence. And there's the extremely terrifying issue of vulnerable populations of people who are mentally ill, who are either predisposed to have episodes of psychosis, who have a history of psychosis, or are in the midst of psychosis, utilizing these products, having their delusions reinforced and encouraged, having these people overtly isolated by the text that is generated by these chatbot products, and people who are experiencing this falling deeper and deeper into delusional beliefs and mental illness. While this is something that we see in the headlines, this is something that I've seen personally. I know, not in my professional career, not a client. This is something that I have seen personally in my personal life. And so it is real, it is serious, and someone has to fucking say something about it. God damn it. Personal self-disclosure is, I predict, based on what I've learned in my research, that there will come a time when my ability to earn money as a therapist will diminish because of AI products. We'll talk a little bit later about therapy chatbot products. But I think as this technology continues to advance, and if it continues to be deregulated, and as people continue to struggle with unemployment because of the job market, because of AI, and they don't have employer subsidized health insurance and behavioral health insurance, more and more people are going to find themselves utilizing free or much more affordable therapy that is accessible to them, which will be in the form of AI products and less humans like me who need to be paid to pay for my house because a computer program doesn't need a house because it's a computer program. Some of these concerns are clearly very concrete and tangible, and some of these concerns that are less tangible come from parallels that we're seeing with AI and social media. So if you remember those really jarring images of Mark Zuckerberg looking extremely scared and pale and Julius Caesar-like in front of the United States Senate a few years ago, he had to answer for and take responsibility for the harm that was done to young people using social media sites such as Facebook. And so we have, while social media and AI are very, very different types of tech, and they interact with humans in very different ways, they are similar in that they have been utilized by hundreds of millions of people. They have been the way that people have connected or felt connection. And I hope, again, come for me in the comments, I hope that we would all agree that social media not being regulated until it was caused a lot of harm. So we have a bit of a blueprint that we can learn from. And I hope that we do. And that's why I'm here. I have things to say about the hypocrisy of some of these CEOs, including Mark Zuckerberg, but I think that'll come later. The main umbrella reality, unfortunately, that makes all of these concerns feel very real is the lack of regulation. Even CEOs of these frontier AI companies, even extremely wealthy venture capitalists who are investing hundreds of millions of dollars in these companies, talk about how important it is for these companies and this technology to be regulated.